Riley had exactly 3 minutes before her next deadline, and zero patience left for the world. Her laptop battery blinked red, her hair was a mess, and the universe clearly hated her because when she reached for her latte, it was gone. She blinked at the empty spot on the cafe counter. "You've got to be kidding me." "Sorry about that," a deep voice said beside her. "I might have borrowed your coffee." She turned, and nearly choked on air. The man standing there was annoyingly handsome. Tousled dark hair, rolled-up sleeves, and the kind of half-smile that could make a girl forget her Wi-Fi password. "You borrowed my coffee?" Riley asked, folding her arms. "What are you planning to do? Give it back later?" He chuckled, holding up the cup. "In my defense, they called out Rhea." "That's basically your name, right?" "Riley," she corrected sharply. "And you owe me caffeine." He smiled, unfazed. "Tell you what, I'll make it up to you next time." "There won't be a next time," she said, typing furiously. "This place is closing next week." The man's expression shifted, a flicker of surprise and guilt. "Actually," he said slowly, "not exactly." "What's that supposed to mean?" He hesitated, rubbing the back of his neck. "I'm the new owner. I'm renovating it." Riley froze mid-type. "You're the what?" He grinned sheepishly. "Theo. Nice to meet you. And, sorry for stealing your latte, and your favorite café." Riley just stared at him, torn between laughing and throwing her laptop. "Oh, this is going to be fun," she muttered under her breath. Theo raised a brow. "You say that like it's a threat." "Maybe it is," she said with a smirk, snatching back her cup. "Enjoy your last few peaceful days of ownership, Mr. New Guy." He laughed softly. "Something tells me they won't be peaceful if you're around." For the first time that morning, Riley almost smiled, but she wasn't ready to admit it yet. Riley told herself she wasn't going back to the cafe. She had deadlines, clients, and a mountain of laundry that could legally be classified as a roommate. But 2 days later, there she was, standing outside the half-covered window of Been There, Done That, her favorite caffeine sanctuary. Inside, ladders were up, paint cans open, and Theo, Mr. Latte Thief himself, stood in the middle of the chaos holding 2 swatches of paint like he was choosing between saving humanity or destroying it. Riley sighed, pushing open the door. "Please tell me you're not actually painting the walls gray." Theo looked up, startled. "Oh, you again. I thought you said you weren't coming back." "I also said you owed me caffeine," she said, setting down her laptop bag on the nearest table. "Still waiting on that." He smiled, wiping a smudge of paint off his arm. "You know, most people would just accept an apology." "Most people don't have emotional attachments to coffee shops," she shot back. "You can't just turn this place into a tech startup lounge." Theo raised an eyebrow. "And you're an expert in interior design because?" "I'm a graphic designer," she said proudly. "Visual instincts. Color palettes." "You're welcome." He grinned. "Ah, so you're one of those creative types who believes fonts can solve emotional trauma." "Only if it's Helvetica," she said, dead serious. Theo laughed. The kind of laugh that filled the empty cafe and made her chest feel weirdly warm. "Okay, Helvetica girl. What color would you pick?" Riley crossed her arms, scanning the walls. "This place used to feel cozy. Now it looks like a dental clinic. Try something that says, comfort, not corporate despair." He tilted his head. "Comfort, huh? Like caramel brown?" "Exactly. Or maybe a warm cream. You want people to stay, not flee." Theo looked thoughtful for a moment, then grabbed a sticky note and scribbled caramel, because Riley said so. Riley blinked. "You're actually taking my advice?" He shrugged. "You seem passionate. And honestly, you're kind of right." She smirked. "Kind of." "Okay, mostly right," he admitted, grinning. "Besides, I could use a second opinion." "You in?" Riley hesitated. She had work, deadlines, sanity to preserve. But something about the sparkle in his eyes made her curiosity win. "Fine," she said. "But if this place ends up looking like a minimalist nightmare, I'm putting your Yelp rating on my resume." Theo chuckled. "Deal. First step. Mood board session. I'll brew the coffee. Make it strong, Riley said, rolling up her sleeves. We're redesigning your disaster. And just like that, what started as a caffeine debt turned into a collaboration neither of them had planned, or were ready for. By the third day, the cafe looked less like a construction zone and more like a Pinterest board with commitment issues. Rolls of wallpaper leaned against the wall, coffee beans scattered across a counter, and in the middle of it all, Riley and Theo, arguing about a lampshade. It's too bright, Riley insisted, holding up the industrial pendant lamp. People come here to relax, not to interrogate suspects. Theo smirked. And you're sure people won't fall asleep in your warm glow of productivity lighting scheme? She narrowed her eyes. Says the man who picked a paint color called muted pebble. He laughed, running a hand through his hair. Fine. You win the lamp war. But only because you sound like you're ready to throw it at me. Riley crossed her arms, trying to look serious but failing. You have no idea how close I am. The tension hung in the air just long enough for her to notice how close they were standing. Close enough to smell his coffee and paint scent, close enough for her pulse to skip like bad Wi-Fi. She stepped back quickly, clearing her throat. So, what's next on your disastrous plan? Theo grinned, pretending not to notice her fluster. We still need a new chalkboard design. You're the designer, right? Show me your magic. Riley grabbed a piece of chalk and started sketching out a playful logo. Theo watched quietly for a moment, his usual teasing fading into something softer. You're good at this, he said. Like, really good. Don't sound so surprised, she replied, focusing on the board. Some of us do this for a living. I'm not surprised, he said. I'm impressed. The words landed heavier than they should have, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound was chalk against slate and the quiet hum of the coffee machine. Then Theo broke the silence. You ever think about opening your own design studio? Riley snorted. Only every time a client sends me a 3 a.m. revision email. He chuckled. If you ever do, I'll design the place for you. Gray walls and all. She shot him a look. You're lucky you make decent coffee. As if on cue, Theo handed her a fresh cup. Peace offering? She took it, their fingers brushing for a split second. Long enough for her to feel the warmth spread up her arm. Truce, she said softly. Truce, he echoed, smiling. Just then, her elbow bumped the paint tray. The splash was spectacular. White streaks across the floor, the counter, and Theo's shirt. Oh my God! Riley gasped. I'm so sorry. Theo blinked, then looked down at his now spotted shirt and laughed. Well, it's abstract art. Maybe we should hang me on the wall. Riley covered her face, half mortified, half laughing. You're impossible. And you, he said, wiping paint off his arm, are officially hired as my lead designer/chaos generator. Riley grinned despite herself. Fine. But next time, I'm picking the playlist too. Deal, Theo said, his smile lingering a moment too long. Neither of them realized that somewhere between spilled paint and shared laughter, the cafe wasn't the only thing being redesigned. The clock above the counter blinked 12:17 a.m., and Riley's eyes were still wide open. The cafe was quiet except for the hum of the espresso machine and the soft click of Theo's laptop keys. Remind me again, she mumbled, leaning back in her chair, why we thought an all-nighter was a good idea? Theo didn't look up. Because you refused to go home until the chalkboard menu looked like it had personality. It did look lifeless, she said defensively, gesturing toward the wall. You had Comic Sans on there, Theo. Comic Sans. That's a cry for help. He finally looked up, laughing. I was experimenting. With bad decisions? She teased, sipping the coffee he'd made her an hour ago. It had gone cold, but somehow it still tasted better than anything she'd brewed herself. Theo stretched, rubbing his neck. Okay, Miss Designer. What's left? She glanced around. The counters were freshly polished, the shelves stacked neatly, the walls glowing with warm caramel paint. Honestly? We did it. It actually looks perfect. He smiled, leaning against the counter beside her. You sound surprised. I am, she admitted. You managed to listen to me and not ruin the vibe. That's progress. High praise, he said with mock solemnity. I'll add it to my resume. Certified vibe listener. She snorted. You're ridiculous. And you, he said softly, take everything way too seriously. The air shifted, gentle, still, full of unspoken things. Riley suddenly became aware of how quiet it was, how close they were, how the soft light made the whole cafe feel smaller. She looked down, her voice quieter now. I kind of like serious things. They last longer. Theo nodded slowly. Fair. But sometimes you need a little chaos to keep life interesting. She met his eyes. You mean like spilled paint and stolen lattes? Exactly like that. Their smiles lingered longer than either meant them to. The silence stretched again, comfortable this time, like an exhale they both needed. Riley cleared her throat. So, why a cafe? You don't really seem like the coffee-obsessed type. He shrugged, glancing at the espresso machine. My dad ran a place like this when I was a kid. When he passed, I guess I wanted to bring that feeling back. Somewhere people could pause for a bit, you know? Her chest softened. That's actually really sweet. He smiled, just a little. Yeah, don't tell anyone. I have a reputation to maintain. Riley's voice gentled. You're full of surprises, Theo. So are you, he said. When you're not threatening me with lamps. She laughed, the sound echoing through the quiet cafe. That was one time. Still the highlight of my week. They stayed there for a while, trading stories between cups of coffee, the night stretching into something soft and timeless. And when she finally stood to leave, he walked her to the door. Thanks for staying, he said. It's been a while since this place felt alive. She smiled, tucking her hair behind her ear. You're not so bad at bringing it to life yourself. For a moment, neither of them moved. Just two people standing in the doorway of a half-finished dream, the faint smell of coffee wrapping around them like a secret. Good night, Helvetica girl, Theo said, his voice low and warm. Good night, Mr. Muted Pebble, she replied, grinning. When the door closed behind her, Theo found himself smiling at the sound of her laughter echoing down the street. By Monday morning, Riley's phone was vibrating like it had a personal vendetta. She squinted at the screen, groaning. What the? Her design post, the casual before and after photo she'd uploaded of the cafe last night, had blown up overnight. Thousands of likes. Comments pouring in. Someone even tagged it #caffeine goals. Oh no, she muttered. Oh no no no. As if on cue, Theo called. Morning, Helvetica girl, he said cheerfully. So, about the internet losing its mind over my cafe. I didn't mean for that to happen, she blurted. It was supposed to be a progress shot, not a publicity stunt. He chuckled. Relax, it's great. People are asking when the reopening is. We've got hype, Riley. Real hype. Riley rubbed her temples. That's good. That's amazing. His voice was practically glowing. But, small problem. People think you're my new creative partner. She froze. What? They keep tagging us together. One blog even called us the dream team duo who redesigned love and lattes. Riley groaned, burying her face in her hands. Please tell me you corrected them. Theo hesitated. I might have leaned into it. What does that even mean? She asked, suspicious. I told a local influencer you'd be helping with the marketing for the reopening. You what? Come on, Theo said, laughing. It's just temporary. A fake partnership for a week, tops. You're good at this, and it'll keep the buzz alive. She crossed her arms. Theo, this is ridiculous. You can't just. Riley, he interrupted gently. I'll pay you. That made her pause. Go on. Free coffee for life. She blinked. That's not real payment. He grinned through the phone. Fine. Coffee and cash. Deal. Riley sighed. You are impossible. And yet, he teased, you're still saying yes. She groaned again but couldn't help smiling. Fine. 1 week. Then I'm out. Perfect, he said. You start today. Oh, and Riley. Yeah. Wear something photogenic. The press is coming. The what? But he'd already hung up. 2 hours later, Riley was standing in the cafe, surrounded by reporters, influencers, and more tripods than she'd ever seen in her life. Theo looked way too calm for someone who'd just hijacked her morning. "You clean up well," he said, handing her a latte with a heart in the foam. "Don't think latte art makes this okay," she muttered. "Oh, but it helps," he said with that infuriating grin. As cameras clicked and interviews rolled, Theo and Riley played their parts. She described their shared vision. He talked about collaborative creativity. And to her horror, they were good together. Too good. When a photographer asked them to stand closer for a shot, Theo casually slipped an arm around her shoulder. Riley stiffened at first, then relaxed, laughing when he whispered, "Smile like we actually get along." "Fake it till we make it," she whispered back. But when their eyes met for a second too long, something didn't feel fake anymore. The next few days were a caffeine-fueled blur. The café buzzed with energy. Fresh flowers on tables, latte art classes in progress, and customers snapping photos like it was a mini-celebrity event. Everywhere Riley went, she heard it. "Oh, you're the designer. Are you and Theo really business partners? You two make such a cute team." Each comment made her cheeks heat more than the espresso machine. "You know," Theo said one afternoon, leaning over the counter with his usual infuriating calm, "you're handling the fame pretty well." She rolled her eyes. "Oh sure. I love being called the face of bean there. Done that by a barista named Kale." Theo chuckled. "That's Kyle." "I heard what I heard," she deadpanned. He smiled, that quiet warm smile that made her pulse skip. "You're enjoying this, admit it." "I enjoy good coffee and mild chaos," she said. "You provide both." "Then I'm doing my job." She was about to fire back when a familiar voice cut through the hum. "Well, if it isn't Miss Designer Extraordinaire." Riley turned and froze. It was Derek, her ex-client/ex-boyfriend, standing in the doorway with his usual smug grin. "Didn't think I'd see you behind a counter, Riley." Finally embracing retail. Theo's expression shifted immediately. Calm, polite, protective. "Can I help you?" Derek smirked. "Just saying hi to an old friend." He turned back to Riley. "You always had a thing for fixing disasters, huh? Guess this place counts too." Before Riley could respond, Theo stepped closer. "Funny," he said evenly, "because she's the reason this place doesn't look like a disaster anymore." Derek blinked, surprised. "And you are?" "The guy who actually listens to her ideas," Theo said. "You should try it sometime." There was a moment of silence. Then Derek scoffed, muttered something under his breath, and left. Riley exhaled. "Wow. That was unpleasant," Theo offered. "Surprisingly satisfying," she said, a smile tugging at her lips. "Thanks for the save." He shrugged casually. "You do the same for me." She grinned. "I'd throw a latte in someone's face for you. That counts, right?" "Depends on the latte," he teased. They both laughed, the tension dissolving like sugar in coffee. But as the laughter faded, Riley realized she was still standing close to him. Too close. Close enough to notice the flecks of gold in his brown eyes, the way his voice softened when he spoke to her. "Theo," she started, unsure what she even wanted to say. He tilted his head. "Yeah. Nothing," she said quickly, stepping back. "We should, check the display. It's crooked." He smiled knowingly but didn't push. "Sure." The display. For the rest of the afternoon, she tried to focus on pastries, lighting, anything that wasn't Theo's smile. But every time he passed by, handed her a coffee, or leaned in to ask her opinion, her heart did that inconvenient flutter thing again. And later, when she was locking up for the night, she found a sticky note on her sketchpad. "Fake partnership or not, I'm glad you're here. Theo hot beverage." She stared at it for a long moment, smiling despite herself. "Oh no," she whispered, tucking the note into her pocket. "I am so in trouble." Saturday morning arrived with sunlight spilling through the cafe windows and the smell of fresh croissants drifting out to the street. Balloons hung from the doorway, the chalkboard sparkled with Riley's lettering, and a hand-drawn banner read, "Grand Reopening, Brewed with Love." Riley smoothed her apron, nerves buzzing. "You sure about this?" she asked. "It's your big day. Don't let me ruin it with a crooked sign." Theo grinned, adjusting the banner until it was perfectly straight. "Relax. Helvetica girl. You saved this place." Now you just have to enjoy it. Customers began to flow in, snapping pictures and ordering cappuccinos. Music played softly. The cafe glowed with energy. Everything was perfect, until Riley noticed Theo behind the counter, struggling to make a heart in the latte foam. She laughed. Still can't manage the heart? He glanced up, mock offended. It's abstract art. Sure. If abstract art looks like a potato. Fine, he said, handing her the pitcher. Show me how the pro does it. Riley poured carefully, twisting her wrist just right until a perfect heart bloomed on the surface. She looked up smug. That's how you. And her elbow clipped the milk jug. White foam exploded everywhere, splattering the counter, Theo's shirt, her hair, everything. The room froze for half a second, then Theo started laughing. Really laughing, full on, shoulders shaking. Riley wiped milk off her cheek, torn between horror and giggles. Congratulations, she said. You're officially cursed. Best curse I've ever had, he said, eyes sparkling. She felt herself blush. You're supposed to be mad. Can't, he said simply. You make chaos look good. Her laughter softened into something quieter. Warmer. You know, she said, for a fake partnership, we're pretty believable. Theo's voice dropped just enough for her heart to trip. Who said it has to stay fake? Before she could answer, a customer called out, Hey, latte lovebirds, can we get 2 more of those hearts? The room erupted in good-natured laughter. Theo leaned in, close enough for her to feel the warmth of his breath. Guess they already figured it out. Riley smiled, cheeks pink. Guess they did. He hesitated for only a moment before brushing a quick kiss against her temple, soft and certain. The crowd cheered, and Riley buried her face in her hands, laughing through the blush. Later, when the rush slowed, they stood together by the window watching the sunset reflect off the cups stacked neatly on the counter. Theo nudged her. So, what do you think? Worth the mess? Riley grinned. Completely. But next time, you're in charge of latte hearts. Deal, he said, slipping an arm around her shoulders. As long as you're in charge of everything else. The cafe lights glowed, the air smelled of coffee and sugar, and for the first time in weeks, Riley didn't feel like she was running late for life. She'd found the one place and person that finally made everything feel right on time. 3 months later, been there. Done that had become the cafe in town. Tourists came for the lattes, locals stayed for the vibe, and everyone knew the story of the designer and the barista who accidentally fell in love over spilled milk. Riley sat by the window, sketchbook open, headphones in, coffee in hand. She looked up as Theo placed a mug in front of her. Foam art shaped like a heart that was shockingly good. She blinked. Wait. You made this. Theo smirked. Told you I'd learn eventually. You're not the only artist here. She inspected the cup. This actually looks like a heart, not a potato. I'm impressed. He leaned on the counter, mock serious. It's not just a heart. It's symbolic. Oh really, she teased. Of what? Your newfound latte mastery. He shook his head, smile tugging wider. Of us. The perfect blend. Riley snorted. That's the cheesiest thing I've ever heard. And yet, he said, you're smiling. She tried to hide it, but he was right. She was smiling. A lot. Across the cafe, a customer waved, asking for the couple from the viral post to take a picture. Riley groaned. I'm going to need a disguise at this rate. Theo handed her a baseball cap with the cafe logo. Already got you covered. Official employee merch. I don't work here, she protested. He grinned. You kinda do. You just don't get paid in cash. Right. Only in caffeine and chaos. Exactly, he said, handing her a pastry bag. Inside was a small, folded card. On the front, a doodle of a latte heart. Inside, handwritten in Theo's messy scrawl. You turned my late deadlines into love lines. Stay. Permanently, if possible. Hot beverage. Riley looked up, eyes soft. Is this your version of a proposal? Theo shrugged. I don't know. Depends on your answer. She laughed, setting the card down and taking his hand. You're lucky I like bad puns and good coffee. So, that's a yes? She nodded. That's a yes. Outside, the cafe lights glowed against the twilight, customers clinked mugs, and laughter spilled into the street. Inside, Theo and Riley stood behind the counter, side by side, creating the next latte heart together, one pour at a time. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more original novel stories. And stay tuned, our next story is coming soon.